Something curious has been building around the New England Patriots. And if you've been following the latest chatter, you already know this is one of those situations that just refuses to go away. Every time it feels like the story is cooling off, it suddenly comes roaring back with even more momentum. And now, with new layers being added, it's getting harder to ignore what might actually be developing behind the scenes. The name at the center of all this noise is A.J. Brown, and the connection to the Patriots is starting to feel less like random speculation and more like something that could genuinely materialize. Reports have been circulating suggesting that there's already some kind of informal understanding between the Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles, with the idea of a deal potentially being finalized after June 1st. And that timing matters a lot, because financially, it's the kind of move that makes far more sense for Philadelphia once they cross that date. Now, here's where things get really interesting. The Patriots' strategy has been pretty clear for a while. Building pressure on the edge has been a major priority, and that first-round pick carries serious weight because of it. Giving that up isn't something that should be taken lightly, especially when you consider how valuable a young edge rusher could be for the future of this defense. So naturally, the question becomes, if a deal for A.J. Brown is actually on the table, what's the real cost going to be? Because if this move really is happening after June 1st, then we're not talking about this year's draft capital anymore. That shifts the conversation entirely. Now you're looking at future picks, maybe even players being included in the package. And that's where things start to hit a little differently, especially when certain names get thrown into the mix. There's been growing chatter about younger pieces on the roster potentially being part of negotiations, and that's where fans start to feel that internal conflict. You want a proven star like A.J. Brown, no doubt about it. But at what cost to the chemistry and development already happening within the team? And speaking of chemistry, one thing that keeps popping up is the connection between Drake, May, and some of the current receiving options. There's a belief that this offense is still growing into itself, still finding its identity. Bringing in a dominant number one receiver could accelerate that process in a big way, but it could also disrupt some of the natural progression already taking place. That balance is something the front office has to weigh very carefully. At the same time, the signals coming from different corners of the league are hard to ignore. When multiple insiders start pointing in the same direction, it usually means there's at least some level of truth behind the scenes. Add to that the subtle moments that fans love to dissect, like appearances, conversations, and interactions involving former Patriots players like Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski, where hints and jokes start fueling the narrative even more. These moments might seem small on the surface, but in the world of sports media, they tend to pour gasoline on an already burning fire. And then there's another layer to all of this, the possibility that A.J. Brown himself could be open to a new destination. When that kind of sentiment starts to surface, it changes everything. If a player of his caliber is even slightly leaning toward a fresh start, teams begin to position themselves quickly. The Patriots, in this case, appear to be right in the middle of that conversation, actively exploring what it would take to bring him in. From Philadelphia's perspective, it's a complicated situation as well. You're talking about a team that has built a strong roster, but also has to manage personalities, expectations, and long-term financial flexibility. If there's even a hint that one of your top weapons isn't fully aligned with the direction of the team, decisions have to be made. Not easy ones, but necessary ones. And when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, it starts to feel like the pieces are slowly lining up. Nothing is officially done, nothing is guaranteed, but the consistency of these reports, combined with the timing and the surrounding context, gives this story more weight than your average rumor. It's not just noise anymore. It's something that has real potential to shape the future of the Patriots offense in a massive way. Meanwhile, as all this unfolds, the Patriots aren't sitting still in other areas either. They've been quietly making moves to strengthen key parts of the roster, especially on defense. Adding depth in the secondary, for example, has been a noticeable focus. With players like Christian Gonzalez already establishing themselves as major contributors, building around that core becomes essential. The goal is clear: create a unit that opposing offenses simply don't want to deal with. And that's where recent additions come into play. Bringing in experienced players to compete and provide depth isn't just about filling spots on the roster. It's about creating competition, raising the overall level of play, and ensuring that if injuries happen or rotations are needed, the drop-off isn't significant. Over the course of a long season, that kind of depth can make all the difference. There's also something to be said about familiarity within coaching systems. When players come in who already understand certain schemes or have worked with members of the coaching staff before, it speeds up the adjustment process. That comfort level can translate into more consistent performances on the field, especially early on. So while the spotlight is firmly on the A.J. Brown situation, there's a lot happening beneath the surface that shows this team is trying to build something balanced. It's not just about chasing a big name. It's about constructing a roster that can compete on multiple levels. And if that big move does end up happening, it won't be in isolation. It'll be part of a much larger plan that's already taking shape behind closed doors. At the same time all this speculation keeps gaining traction, there's another angle that makes this entire situation even more intriguing. It's not just about whether the New England Patriots want to make a splash move. It's about how aggressive they're willing to be in reshaping the identity of this offense moving forward. Because if you take a step back and really look at it, this is a team that has been searching for that true, undeniable number one receiver for quite some time now. Someone who can completely shift the way defenses prepare week after week. And that's exactly why the idea of bringing in A.J. Brown continues to feel so significant. This isn't just another solid addition. This would be a statement. A move that tells the rest of the league that the Patriots are done playing it safe and are ready to give their young quarterback the kind of weapon that can accelerate his development almost instantly. Because when you have a receiver of that caliber lining up on the outside, everything changes. Defensive coordinators have to adjust, coverage schemes become more complex, and suddenly opportunities start opening up across the entire field. For a quarterback like Drake May, that kind of presence could be transformative. Young quarterbacks often benefit the most when they have a reliable target who can win one-on-one matchups, create separation, and make contested catches look routine. It builds confidence, it simplifies reads, and it allows the offense to operate with a level of rhythm that's hard to achieve otherwise. So when you connect those dots, it becomes easier to understand why the Patriots might be seriously exploring every possible path to make this happen. But here's where things get layered, because it's not just about what the Patriots gain, it's also about what they might have to give up in return. Trade discussions at this level are never simple, and when you're dealing with a player of A.J. Brown's stature, the price is always going to reflect that. Future draft capital is one piece of the puzzle, but there's also the possibility of including players who still have untapped potential. That's where the internal debate becomes real, because you're essentially weighing immediate impact against long-term growth. And that's not an easy decision for any organization, especially one that is in the middle of building something new. There's a vision in place, a structure that's being developed step by step, and every move has to align with that bigger picture. If you sacrifice too much, you risk creating gaps elsewhere. But if you hesitate, you might miss the opportunity to bring in a game-changing talent. That tension is exactly what makes this situation so fascinating to follow. On the other side, the Philadelphia Eagles are navigating their own set of challenges. Managing a roster filled with high-level talent comes with its own complications, especially when expectations are as high as they are in Philadelphia. Keeping everyone aligned, both on and off the field, is a constant balancing act. And if there's even a slight indication that a player might be looking for a different environment, it forces the front office to consider options they might not have otherwise explored. What adds even more fuel to this situation is how quickly the market can shift. Teams that were once considered potential landing spots for A.J. Brown have already made moves in other directions, which could narrow the field and increase the likelihood of a deal with a team like the Patriots. Timing, in this case, is everything. Being in the right position at the right moment can make all the difference when a high-profile player becomes available. And while all of this is unfolding, there's also a growing sense that the Patriots are quietly building something deeper than just headline moves. The additions being made across the roster, particularly on the defensive side, show a commitment to strengthening the foundation of the team. It's not about relying on one or two stars. It's about creating a balanced unit that can compete in multiple ways. The secondary, for example, is shaping up to be one of the more intriguing groups to watch. With players like Christian Gonzalez continuing to establish themselves, the emphasis on adding depth and competition becomes even more important. Bringing in experienced players who can step in when needed, while also pushing the younger talent to improve, creates an environment where performance is constantly being elevated. There's also a strategic element to these additions that goes beyond just talent. Familiarity with coaching systems, previous connections with staff members, and the ability to adapt quickly all play a role in how effective these players can be. When those factors align, it allows the team to function more cohesively, especially during critical moments in the season. All of these moving pieces paint a picture of a team that is actively trying to position itself for a significant step forward. Whether that includes a blockbuster trade for a player like A.J. Brown or not, the intent is clear. The Patriots are not content with standing still. They're exploring options, evaluating risks, and looking for ways to elevate the entire roster. And as the days go by, the anticipation only continues to build. Because in the world of professional football, situations like this don't just fade away without a resolution. They build, they evolve, and eventually, something gives. The only question now is how far the Patriots are willing to go to turn this possibility into reality, and what that final move might look like when everything finally comes into place. And as this situation keeps unfolding, there's also the emotional side from the fan perspective that can't be ignored. Supporters of the New England Patriots have been waiting for that electrifying offensive identity to return, something that brings back that feeling of unpredictability and explosiveness every time the team steps on the field. The idea of adding someone like A.J. Brown feeds directly into that desire, because he's the type of player who can change the energy of an entire game with just one play. It's not just about stats, it's about presence, about forcing defenses to constantly stay on edge. At the same time, there's a level of caution that comes with it. Building through the draft has always been a core philosophy for long-term success, and moving future assets can sometimes feel like stepping away from that identity. That's why this potential move feels like such a defining moment. It's not just a roster decision, it's a philosophical one. Do you stay patient and continue developing from within, or do you take a calculated risk to speed up the process and give your offense a proven centerpiece right now? Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to Patriots Hub and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our New England Patriots. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. A growing sense of urgency is surrounding the New England Patriots, as whispers from inside the organization suggest that owner Robert Kraft is preparing to make one final, aggressive push for another championship ring. Sources close to the franchise describe the situation as all or nothing, with internal pressure mounting to deliver immediate results rather than continuing a long-term rebuild. According to league insiders, Kraft's patience may be wearing thin after seasons of inconsistency, and his latest moves behind the scenes hint at a willingness to stretch financial limits in pursuit of elite talent. While no official announcements have been made, speculation is swirling that the Patriots could be preparing a bold financial maneuver, one that may impact not only the current roster, but the organization's long-term flexibility. Executives around the league are reportedly monitoring the situation closely. Some believe Kraft is ready to authorize deals that would typically be considered risky, potentially restructuring contracts or absorbing significant cap hits to assemble a competitive squad capable of contending immediately. Others warn that such a strategy, while potentially rewarding in the short term, could leave the franchise vulnerable in the years ahead. Inside the locker room, the atmosphere is said to reflect the high stakes. Veterans understand what could be at play, a final window to capitalize on experience and leadership, while younger players may find themselves either elevated into key roles or used as assets in potential blockbuster moves. The message, as one anonymous source put it, is clear: this is not a time for patience. The uncertainty extends to the coaching staff as well, with rumors suggesting that expectations have been quietly but firmly raised. Every decision, from play calling to personnel usage, is now under a sharper lens as ownership seeks immediate returns on investment. If the speculation proves true, the Patriots could be on the verge of one of the most pivotal moments in their modern history. A bold gamble from Kraft might reignite championship ambitions, or reshape the future of the franchise in ways few could have predicted. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our New England Patriots, be sure to subscribe to Patriots Hub and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.